So, good evening, all of you. Am I audible and visible? Please give me a thumbs up. Dr. BV, Anaya, Khadija, if I am audible and visible to all of you, please give me a thumbs up. Yes, very nice. So, welcome everyone to the rapid revision of dermatology. Now, today we have two sessions of dermatology, and both of them are dedicated for a quick revision for infectious disease. Now, why I have planned to discuss the infectious disorders, because infectious disorder is considered to be one of the frequently asked topic in any exam. It can be INI-CET, it can be FMG, it can be NEET, PG, or next pattern exam. Now, those who are giving the exam tomorrow, all the best to all of you. You can attend this session for a rapid fire revision of infectious disease. I will mainly discuss the MCQs and the related high yield point. If you find anything difficult, you can interrupt me in between. And anything you want me to add on or you want me to discuss, you can tell me. I can add that topic in the next session, which is planned for today only, 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Okay. So, welcome everyone. I have many students live with me. Welcome all of you to this session. Without wasting much time, we'll start the discussion. But before going that, you all know we have few regulars and something about the subscriptions of Unacademy. So we have two subscription, that is Iconic, which is exclusively dedicated for next PG 2022. So if you're giving your exam next to next year, please go for Iconic subscription. Now here you have advantage of both Unacademy and Prep Ladder. You can have live classes of Unacademy, and you can meanwhile also access the video lectures and the question banks of Prep Ladder. The one year subscription is around 49,500. And if you use my referral code CHESTA10, you will get additional 10% discount on this. And thank you all of you who have recently subscribed the Iconic subscription. And I hope you all are enjoying the subscription now. The next is the Plus subscription. If you're planning to give your exam, that is FMGE December or NEET PG 2021, hopefully you'll have this exam in your end of January or the Feb. So if you are planning these two exams, you can go with 1 month subscription. Now we are launching many batches, and I think from tomorrow a rapid fire revision batch for NEET PG is going to start. Not from tomorrow, from 21st of November. So if you all are planning to have NEET PG 2021, please go ahead and get the subscription of Unacademy for 1 month. Use my referral code for subscription to get additional 10% discount on that. Okay. And the last is we will conduct a daily T20 series, and this will help you judge yourself that which topic is weaker, which is stronger, because you will get questions from any topic, any subject. And this will also assess your all over rank and tell you that where exactly you lie among all these students. Okay. So very nice. I have many students, Proud, Indian, Sumeda, Bala, Riser, Crystal, Reshma, all of you. Okay. So starting with the first question, please give me a thumbs up if you are ready. Starting with the first question, and this is the first question. All of the following cutaneous infections or diseases are caused by Staphylococcus aureus except. So this is a 1 hour class, that is 60-minute class. And I will try to discuss many MCQs possible. A very easy question. So very nice, all of you. Welcome, Gana and other students. Those who have joined right now, please try to solve this question. So only 50% of you could solve this question. All of the following cutaneous infections or diseases are caused by Staphylococcus aureus. Now, for solving these type of questions, you should know this chart. The infection caused by Staphylococcus and the infection caused by Streptococcus species. What are the infections which occurs by Staphylococcus? Furuncle, folliculitis, carbuncle, bullous impetigo, toxic shock syndrome, and staphylococcal scarlet skin syndrome. While Streptococcus species causes scarlet fever, erysipelas, ecthyma, cellulitis, erythema marginatum, and erythema nodosum. Please remember this list because you will get these type of questions. All of the above is by staff except. Okay. So please remember, because only 50% of you could answer this question. Now, what is psychosis? Can anybody tell me what is psychosis? Proud Indian have asked. Psychosis is nothing but folliculitis of the beard area. Okay. And psychosis also occurs because of staphylococcal infection. Yes, you are right. It is the psychosis of the beard area, or the folliculitis of the beard area. Very nice. Now, moving ahead to the next question. Please answer this question. This is a repeat question, or this is a previous year MCQ. So you all might be aware about this question. Which of the following statement regarding the diagnosis of image given below is false? Very nice. Ramya Krishna, Dr. BV, Proud Indian, Deja Vu, Bala. So I am very thankful to all the students that even posting the class so late. I've posted this class today itself. I can see many of you live in this session. So thanks to all of you for attending my class in such a bulk number or large number. Only 45% could answer this question. Can anybody tell me what is the diagnosis here? What is the diagnosis? In this patient, I have discussed this question so many times. This is a case of bullous impetigo. Now, what is impetigo? Impetigo is nothing but superficial bacterial infection of the skin. Now, this is considered to be highly contagious. Contagious means it spread rapidly in between the children or in between the family members because of high contagiative power. Now, the organism which causes impetigo are of two types, Staph aureus and Streptococcus. Now, both of them can cause impetigo. We have two type of impetigo, bullous and non-bullous. The bullous impetigo, as name tells, that it presents with bullous lesion. Now here you have to remember that the bulla is flaccid, and instead of containing clear fluid, it consists of turbid fluid, turbid or yellow colored fluid. The bullous impetigo is also called as pemphigus neonatorum. So please remember, pemphigus neonatorum, it is a misnomer. It is not related to vesiculobullous disorder, but it is a type of or another name of bullous impetigo. Please give me a thumbs up, all of you, if you understood this point. Okay. Yes, so pemphigus neonatorum is another name for bullous impetigo. The next variant, which is called as non-bullous impetigo, as the name suggests, it do not presents with any intact bullae. Instead, it presents with crusting or erosions. And this type of impetigo is called as impetigo contagiosa. Impetigo contagiosa because it is highly infective condition. Now, there are few differences among both of them. First, we have discussed that is the clinical presentation differs from both of them. The second is the bullous impetigo variant. It is because of Staph aureus exclusively. Bullous impetigo never occurs secondary to Streptococcus. Please give me a thumbs up if you are clear with this point. Now, why I am stressing this point? Because when I will tell you about non-bullous impetigo, it can occur both because of staph as well as Streptococcus. But bullous impetigo is exclusively secondary to the Staph aureus species. Now, sometimes they ask you that what is the phage type or the phage type causing the bullous impetigo. So for that, you have to remember it can be either 70, 71 or 55. Now here you will have flaccid bullae containing turbid or yellow fluid, and sometimes these bullae get ruptured, forming Warnish crust. So the crusting of bullous impetigo is called as Warnish crust. Here the level of split is subcorneal, and this is because you have a toxin which is released by Staph aureus, which is called as exotoxin F, and this toxin goes and binds desmoglein 1. And if you all remember, desmoglein 1 is present over the upper layer, which is responsible for development of subcorneal split. Second point you have to remember is there is no regional lymphadenopathy in bullous impetigo. So there is no regional lymph node enlargement. And this is what the question was asking. So which of the following statement regarding the diagnosis of the image given below is false? Intraepidermal bullae are found, that is true. You will have subcorneal bullae. Regional lymphadenitis is common. No, this is a wrong statement. Regional lymphadenitis is common in case of non-bullous impetigo. Warnish crust is seen, that is true, and it is exclusively produced by Staph aureus. This is also a true statement. Please give me a thumbs up, all of you, if this is clear. And welcome Sushil, Prajalit, Gokul Swami, and Brajesh. Welcome to the session. Chalo. So we are done with bullous impetigo. Let's move to the next question. Ready for the next question, all of you? Okay. So the next question is this. Which of the following organism causes bullous impetigo? So it's a revision for you. Very nice. So I've just now told you bullous impetigo occurs exclusively by Staphylococcus aureus. Now moving to second, one second. Moving to the next question, staphylococcal infection causes all except. Staphylococcal infection causes all except. So this is an important question because some students will get confused between two options. Let me see how many of you get confused. Yes, I can see at least 35% of you getting confused. So staphylococcal infection, if you remember, I have shown you a chart in the first question. So going back to that chart, staphylococcal infection is furuncle, carbuncle, folliculitis, bullous impetigo, toxic shock syndrome, and staphylococcal scalded skin syndrome. Now, erysipelas is because of streptococcus. But please remember, even staphylococcal species can cause erysipelas. If in the option they gives you both staph and strep and they ask you the organism causing erysipelas, you have to mark streptococcus first. But if streptococcus is not given, please remember even staphylococcal species can cause erysipelas. So I hope now the 35 students, those who have marked option number 2, understood why this is wrong. So only infection which do not occur secondary to staphylococcus is lupus vulgaris, because lupus vulgaris is an example of cutaneous tuberculosis which occurs secondary to mycobacterial tuberculosis. Please give me a thumbs up if you understood this question. And very nice, Dr. Khadija, BV, Proud Indian, Divya, Anmol, Bindu, Preeti, and many more. Okay? Understood this point? I want thumbs up from everyone. Only 4 students have given me a thumbs up. Yes. So very important question. That is why you have to read all the options first and then you have to mark the answer. Okay? Because otherwise, if you have read only option number 2, you would have marked it and you would have proceeded ahead. But that is wrong practice. Okay? Chalo. Let's do the next question. Now, please answer this question again from bullous impetigo. It's a practice question. Very nice. False about staphylococcus or streptococcus. So most commonly by staph, strep, or both. It predisposes to glomerulonephritis, produces scar on healing, and it is an infective lesion. So only 59% of you have answered the correct answer, and this is option number 2. Please remember, you will never have scarring in a patient of bullous impetigo or non-bullous impetigo, because here the level of split is intraepidermal. And if you all remember, I have already discussed this point that intraepidermal split will never heal with scarring. For development of scars, there should be involvement of dermis, but that is not the case in this disease. Now, predisposed to glomerulonephritis, for this you should know one point, that non-bullous impetigo, the commonest side effect is post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. And what is the strain of streptococcus which causes glomerulonephritis? M type 49. So all of them are exam question. I hope you understood this point. Give me a thumbs up, all of you. So in this question, option number 2 is also correct, that it forms or it causes or they predisposes to glomerulonephritis. This is true. This is true. And it is an infective condition. and that is why it is highly contagious. So this is also a true option. Okay. Only option number third, which is the healing with scarring, is the wrong answer. Now let's do the next question. Please answer this question. Very nice, Prajalit, Achla, Dr. Priya, Chandan, Divya. What about you, Surya? Are you live in the class? So, Sushil, Anmol, Bindu, Arun, Amin, Fatima, Dr. Priya, Gehna. So I have many students, but only few are answering the poll. And welcome Swati and Nitya. Prajalit, Achla, you are among the first students, those who have marked this question right. Very nice. The correct answer is impetigo contagiosa or non-bullous impetigo. Please remember, commonest infection is this. But if they would have mentioned commonest viral infection, then the answer becomes what? Molluscum contagiosum is seen very frequently, but that is not a viral infection which is commonest. Commonest is the warts which occurs because of HPV infection. I hope this is clear. Scabies is not the commonest. Okay, it is not the most common. You see scabies very frequently in children as well as in adult, but the answer is not scabies. Understood? Yes, very nice. Now let's go to the next question. So this is, I think, these are very, very easy questions. So should I go to something difficult? Okay. Which of the following is a bacterial infection? Very nice, Dr. BV, Chandan, Reshma, Aparna, Gehna, Achla, Bala. So 38% of you are right with respect to this question. Now, this is a question from misnomers of dermatology. What do you mean by misnomer? Means that it is falsely named. Now, Pyoderma gangrenosum. Pyoderma is the name for the pus-filled space, and gangrenosum is the gangrene. But Pyoderma gangrenosum is not because of bacterial infection, it is a neutrophilic dermatosis. Neutrophilic dermatosis. What is impetigo herpetiformis? Anyone? What is impetigo herpetiformis? This is, can anybody tell me, is it a bacterial infection or something else? This is generalized pustular psoriasis of pregnancy. What is Ichthyoma contagiosum? Can anybody tell me Ichthyoma contagiosum is a bacterial infection, a viral infection, or a fungal infection? Can anybody answer this question? Ichthyoma contagiosum, very nice. It is a viral infection. And Dr. BV, can you tell me what is the organism for the Ichthyoma? What is the organism for Ichthyoma? It is the ORF virus or parapox virus. Okay. So ORF virus or parapox virus is responsible for Ichthyoma contagiosum. And yes, this is because of handling of the goat, sheep, or the cattle. Now, the only bacterial infection is Pemphigus neonatorum, which we have already discussed. It is another name for Bullous impetigo, which occurs secondary to Staphylococcus aureus. Okay, so this is a question from misnomers. I hope you understood this now. Please give me a thumbs up if this is clear. Very nice. Now let's do another question. The following conditions are the complication of streptococcal impetigo except. This is a frequent repeat question. I think I've seen this question so many times. Very nice. Gehna, Prajalit, Banu, Sand, Ramya, Tarun, and many more. Happy Soul, Dr. BV, Crystal. What about other students? Only 31% of you could answer this question. Again, I'm telling that if you are not able to solve these questions, please join an academy. Use my referral code Cheshta10 for subscription. You still have 2 months, or you still have time for the preparation of NEET PG 2021. So you can join the courses going on right now, and you can join the separate courses of each subjects. So please take an academy subscription for your revision purpose. Very nice, all of you. So here you have to remember a fact that the streptococcus species which causes impetigo can lead to any type of complication except rheumatic fever. Rheumatic fever is not a known complication of streptococcus infection. So you have to remember this point, that rheumatic fever will never occur secondary to impetigo causing streptococcus. Okay. So I think this is clear. And one multiple choice question. This is a multiple choice question. So please answer this question over the chat section. Multiple choice question. Please answer this question over the chat section. Welcome Priya, Dr. Abutar and Aruna. Welcome to the session. True about impetigo is contagious, bacterial infection, non-contagious, honey-colored crust, viral infection. Very nice, Chandan, Divya, Preeti, Prajalit, Achla. Option number one, that is true statement. It is a highly contagious infection. It is a bacterial infection, that is also true. Non-contagious, this is false. Honey-colored crust, two. Viral infection, false. So the answer is 1, 2, and 4. Is this clear to all of you? So we are done with the questions of impetigo and the common bacterial infection. Now let's do another question, and this is the question on your computer screen. Please answer this question, all of you. We have discussed this question, and I want everyone to answer this question. A farmer develops a papule on his left finger within a week of handling his goat. Now the papules enlarges into a hemorrhagic bulla and healed after 3 to 6 weeks. The lesion was diagnosed to be a lesion of ORF. You have to identify the incorrect statement. So why only 56 students, 56%? Because we have already answered this question. What is the organism here? Organism is parapox or ORF virus. Okay, it is not Coxsackie. Can you tell me what is the disease or infection by Coxsackie A16 called as? What is the infection caused by Coxsackie A16? Very nice. Hand, foot, mouth disease, where you have angulated blisters over the hands, foot, as well as mouth. Okay. So Coxsackie virus do not causes the ORF disease or Ichthyoma contagiosum. Now, this is the clinical presentation of Ichthyoma contagiosum, and it occurs because of direct contact or direct inoculation of the organism. Chalo, let's do another question. This is a frequent repeat question, so I want everyone to answer this question correctly. This question has been repeated, I think, more than 4 to 5 times. A 2-month-old infant developed otitis media, for which he was given a course of cotrimoxazole. A few days later, he developed fever, irritability, and skin tenderness, followed by peeling of the skin. There was no mucosal lesion. The most likely diagnosis is. Very nice, Priyanga, Ramya, Priya. We have around 49% of you, those who have marked this question correctly. Okay. So this is the leaderboard. Okay, so Dr. BV, in case of SJS and 10, you have oral lesion, and along with that, before having peeling of the skin, you have targetoid lesion. But here they have mentioned that there is presence of tenderness, which is followed by development of peeling of skin. So this cannot be a case of SJS and 10. Now, students got most of the time students gets confused between pemphigus and staphylococcal scarlet skin syndrome. Please remember, in staphylococcal scarlet skin syndrome, you will never develop oral mucosal lesion. This is because here you have exotoxin or exfoliative toxin. You have exfoliative toxin which works against desmoglein 1, and we all know that desmoglein 1 is not seen in oral mucosa. So please remember, staphylococcal scarlet skin syndrome will never present with oral lesions, while infantile pemphigus, Steven Johnson, and toxic epidermal necrolysis, everything will present with oral mucosal lesion. Is that clear? And welcome Lazy, Strange, Vandan and Ansari, welcome to the session. Welcome Jonas Sharma and Jatin Sholanki, welcome to the session. Now, what is staphylococcal scarlet skin syndrome? This is also called as Retter's disease. Ritter stands with Ritter, and please remember that it differs from Retter's disease. Retter's disease is seen secondary to the non-gonococcal urethritis, and it presents with a triad of conjunctivitis, urethritis, and arthritis. Okay, but Retter's disease is another name for staphylococcal scarlet skin syndrome. Here you have epidermolytic or exfoliative toxin which is directed against desmoglein 1, and that is why you have subcorneal splitting. Now, what is the presentation? The child or the individual will have a preceding infection, which can be that of the nasopharynx, for example, tonsillitis. They can have ear infection or they can have conjunctivitis. Now, what happens from these infective focus? Staph gets the staphylococcus releases the toxin which enters the circulation and cause generalized skin tenderness. Following this skin tenderness, you will see potato skin desquamation. Can you see there is desquamation of skin all over the body, but you will have classic sparing of the oral mucosa. Please give me a thumbs up if all of you understood this question, a very, very important question. Okay. Now, similar to this, we have toxic shock syndrome, which also occurs because of the Staph aureus. But for toxic shock syndrome, they will mention you that a reproductive female who used tampons, after her cycle, she suddenly develops fever or constitutional symptom, which is followed by palmoplantar exfoliation. This is very, very characteristic of toxic shock syndrome. Now, whenever a patient who have used tampons in the past, what happens sometimes they forget to remove the tampon and there is collection of blood. This will lead to proliferation of staphylococcus, and this staphylococcus will release group 1 toxin, leading to the symptoms of toxic shock syndrome. Is that clear to all of you? How does the staphylococcal scarlet skin syndrome will look like, and how does toxic shock syndrome would look like? Okay. Please give me a thumbs up, all of you, if you understood this point. Very, very nice. Very nice. Now, chalo, let's do another question. Please solve this question, all of you. Which of the following is correctly matched toxin with its target protein? Very nice. I have 75% of you, those who have marked it right. Harita, Dr. BV, Vandan. So the correct answer of this question is option number 1, that is exfoliative toxin which works against desmoglein 1. So we have discussed it just now and we are not wasting much time here. Now please solve this question. This acute suppurative condition is most commonly caused by So you have to tell me the diagnosis also. What is this condition called as? Welcome SK, Jyoti, Surendra, Jatin. Yes, very nice, Dr. Strange. This is a case of paronychia. And what is paronychia? It is the infection or inflammation of the nail fold. This is the inflammation of the nail fold. Now, there are two types of paronychias, acute and chronic. Here they have mentioned that it is a case of acute paronychia. So the causative agent for acute paronychia is Streptococcus pyogenes, while the causative organism for chronic paronychia, this is Candida species. Okay, that is a fungal infection. So chronic is because of Candida and acute is because of Streptococcus pyogenes. Is that clear to all of you? A very easy question. And what is paronychia? This is the inflammation of the nail fold. Chandan, this is not a case of cellulitis. Can anybody tell me what is cellulitis? Cellulitis is inflammation of the deeper component, that is subcutaneous tissue. Okay, but here you don't have any subcutaneous tissue. It is a deeper part. Chalo, let's do another question. Please answer this question. Coral pink fluorescence in the groin region on Wood's lamp examination is seen in. So these are very easy questions and I want everybody to answer this question. Very nice. Harita, Dr. BV, Proud Indian, Sajita, Rameshwar, very nice. Ramya, Chandan, Nazia, Achla, Fatima, Sand. So 59% of you have answered this question correctly. And yes, you are right, Dr. BV. This is a Corynebacterial infection which occurs secondary to Corynebacterium minutissimum. Okay. And what is Corynebacteria? It is a normal commensal of the body. But because of some predisposing factors, for example, excessive sweating, or because of immunocompromised status of an individual or poor hygiene, this normal commensal becomes pathogenic, causing some of the infections. You have four type of infections which occurs because of Corynebacteria: erythrasma, trichomycosis axillaris, pittate keratolysis, and malodorous axilla. Now, first of all, we'll discuss about erythrasma. Erythrasma, it occurs because of Corynebacteria minutissimum. You will see well-defined plaques. Can you see the well-defined plaques here? And along with this, there will be horizontal creasing, which is very, very characteristic like this. Now, if you use the wood lamp, it will give a coral red fluorescence, which is diagnostic. For treatment, you have to give either topical antibiotic or oral antibiotic because it occurs secondary to Corynebacteria, which is a bacteria. The second is Trichomycosis axillaris. Now, this is because of Corynebacteria tenuis. And here you will see yellowish crust or yellowish deposits. Yellowish deposits over the axillary hair. And what are these? These are colonies of gram-positive organism, that is Corynebacteria tenuis. This will lead to malodorous sweating and yellowish-brown staining of the shirts. And treatment is regular shaving, antiperspirant, or you can give benzoyl peroxide washes. The another type of infection which occurs because of Corynebacteria is pittate keratolysis. Now, because of hyperhidrosis, the skin becomes very smooth, causing the penetration of Corynebacteria. And because of digestion of the keratin of the foot, this will give rise to pittate lesions. Treatment is same. You have to give either oral or topical antibiotics for treatment of this case. Now, is this clear to all of you? The disease which occurs secondary to Corynebacteria, and the classical coral red feature is that of erythrasma. Please give me a thumbs up if all of you understood this point. Chalo, let's do few more questions. Find the incorrect statement regarding the condition shown in the image below. Pressure bearing or friction area are most commonly affected, associated with malodor and maceration, mainly caused by Corynebacterial infection, and usually associated with anhydrosis. Very nice. Please remember it is associated with hyperhidrosis. And because of this hyperhidrosis, you will have maceration of the skin, and this maceration will increase the penetration of the organism, leading to keratin digestion. So the wrong statement here is option number 4. Please remember this is an important point. Okay. Now, moving to the next question. I think now it's a very easy question because everybody know this. I'm just giving you 15 seconds for solving this question. Very nice. So I think 85% of you knew this question, and the species which causes erythrasma is Trichomycos Corynebacteria minutissimum. Now let's do another question. Wood's lamp light is used in the diagnosis of. You should know what is Wood's lamp, and it is diagnostic in which among the following diseases shown. Very nice, Dr. BV, Harita, Ramya, Prajalit, Priyangana. So it's an easy question actually. So before telling you the answer, you should know what is Wood's lamp. Now, Wood's lamp, it is a handheld instrument which is usually used for a bedside investigation. Now, this instrument emits UV radiation, and the wavelength of UV radiation which is emitted is 365 nanometer, which is a UVA type of radiation. Now, for removal of a specific wavelength, you have filters which are present, and these filters are made up of barium silicate and nickel oxide. This is also an exam question, and this is also an exam question. Now, fungal infection, for example, the Microsporum species causing tinea capitis, it releases pteridine, and this pteridine emits fluorescence which can easily be seen by Wood's lamp examination. Similar to that, we have Pseudomonas and Corynebacteria which are positive on Wood's lamp. Few pigmentary disorders, for example, vitiligo, metabolic disorders, for example, porphyrias. So these are some of the uses of Wood's lamp examination. Now this chart is very, very important because it shows the color, and this can be asked in your exam. Tinea capitis because of microsporum will give you a bluish green color, but the one because of trichophyton Sean-Lenny will give you a dull blue color. Erythrasma because of the erythrasma will give rise to coral pink. We have just now seen the picture. Pityriasis versicolor will give you a faint yellow fluorescence. Pseudomonas will give you green. Porphyria will give you red or pink fluorescence, and vitiligo lesions will become more white, or they will become ivory white in appearance. So can you see here the lesion is not clear when you look it by the normal eye or under without any instrument. But when you look at under the Wood's lamp, the hypopigmented lesions become very prominent. So this is the use for the diagnosis. In cases where the diagnosis is doubtful, you can use Wood's lamp, which is a very easy, non-invasive bedside treatment modality. So I hope this is clear to all of you. And I welcome Kiran, Deepak, Shashank, and Vamit for this session. So this is the uses of Wood's lamp examination, and I hope you all understood this question. Now let's do another question. So it's a frequent repeat question. The question says that the image shows a bacterial skin infection. Identify the incorrect statement regarding the diagnosis. So Dr. BV, Ramya, Krishna, Surendra, very nice. So the diagnosis here is, it is a case of erysipelas. Erysipelas is also called as St. Anthony fire. So this is a true statement. Now here you have infection which occurs in the superficial dermal lymphatics. And because of the superficial location, the lesion is very well defined. very well defined lesions with raised margin. And a very, very important point that if you see erysipelas of the face, it can extend up to the pinna. It can extend up to the pinna. And this extension of the erysipelas lesion over the pinna differentiate the erysipelas of the face from cellulitis of face, and this is called as Melian ear sign. Now, in cellulitis, ear is not involved, and this is because cellulitis is infection of the subcutaneous tissue. You will not have any subcutaneous tissue over the ear pinna. So, cellulitis of face will never extend onto the earlobe, while erysipelas will extend into the earlobe. So, please remember this point. This is a very, very important exam question. Understood this point? So, option number 3 will be a false statement and option number 4 will be a true statement. Please give me a thumbs up, all of you, if you understood this question. Very nice. And the erysipelas will be well defined, while cellulitis will be ill defined because of the deeper presentation, deeper component which is involved in case of cellulitis. Now, let's answer this question. Erysipeloid. What is erysipeloid and how it is transmitted? Okay, very nice. So what is erysipeloid? Erysipeloid means erysipelas like. Okay. So erysipelas like means the clinical presentation will be similar to erysipelas, but it is not because of streptococcus. It is because of another species, and that is called as Erysipelothix rhusiopathy. This is also a bacteria, and this bacterial infection presents clinically with the lesion similar to that of erysipelas, and that is why it is called as erysipeloid. Now, it occurs because of handling of fish or raw meat. Okay, so because of contact of animal, you will develop erysipeloid. It is not because of mosquito bite or parasite or droplet. Is that clear to all of you? Please give me a thumbs up. This is a very easy question. Erysipeloid occurs secondary to Erysipelothrics rhusiopathy. Now, please answer this question. Psychosis barbae is caused by. Please answer this question. Psychosis barbae is caused by Staphylococcus aureus, herpes simplex, non-bullous impetigo, or bullous impetigo. A very easy question. I want all of you to please answer this question. Yes, so we have just now discussed that Psychosis barbae is the folliculitis of the beard area. And the commonest cause of folliculitis of the beard area is Staphylococcus aureus. So the correct answer of this question becomes option number 1. Okay. Now, what is Psychosis barbae? Can you see these folliculitis like lesion? Now, what is folliculitis? For that, you have to look at this slide. You know that you have a hair follicle which is associated with sebaceous gland. Now, whenever you have inflammation, I'll just zoom this part. Now, whenever you have inflammation of the superficial part of the hair follicle, this is called as superficial folliculitis. Superficial folliculitis. All the best, blessed doctor. All the best to all of the students, and just keep calm. You have read everything. Don't get panic. Even if you don't know first few questions, don't worry. You can easily do the remaining questions. And the last take home thing which you need to know: please read the question, read the options, then mark it. Okay, don't jump in marking the answer. Okay. So all the best to all of you and good night and all the best. Okay. Chalo. Bye bye. Now, superficial folliculitis, which I have told you, it is the infection of the superficial component, that is this part. Now, it will manifest with these type of lesions. Can you see smaller pustular lesions with the hair follicle coming out from each of them? So this is how a superficial folliculitis will look like. Now, the second is deep folliculitis. Now, deep folliculitis is when, along with the superficial part, the deeper component is also getting involved. And how does it looks like? The deep folliculitis will be somewhat like this. You will not see discrete lesion, you will see a large nodular lesion, because here you have deeper component which is also involved. Now, what is furuncle? Furuncle is nothing but deep folliculitis which also involves the surrounding skin. Okay. So what is furuncle? It is deep folliculitis along with the involvement of surrounding skin. Please give me a thumbs up if you understood this point. The difference between superficial folliculitis, deep folliculitis, and a furuncle. Now, what happens when multiple furuncles come together? Can you tell me what is the name given when multiple furuncles join? Anyone? When multiple furuncle joins, it has given another name and it is called as carbuncle. Is that clear to all of you? So multiple furuncles together called as carbuncle. Okay, very nice. Now let's do another question. This is a very, very easy question. So we have only 10 minutes left and I want everyone to be a little bit quick. Thick adherent crust are seen in which of the following bacterial infection? Okay, so whenever you see the thick adherent crust, it occurs because of progression of impetigo, and this is called as ecthyma. And this blackish crust is called as eschar. Please remember, ecthyma occurs secondary to the untreated impetigo, and the organism is staph or strep. But sometimes you will see ecthyma secondary to Pseudomonas species, and that is called as Ichthyoma gangrenosum. So please remember, Ichthyoma pyogenicum is because of strep or step. Ichthyoma gangrenosum is because of Pseudomonas. And what is Ichthyoma contagiosum? What is Ichthyoma contagiosum? Anyone? Anybody can tell me what is Ichthyoma contagiosum? Yes, it is not a bacterial infection. It is a viral infection. Okay. So please don't get confused between Ichthyoma gangrenosum, Ichthyoma contagiosum, and Ichthyoma pyogenicum. Okay. Yes, very nice. Very nice, all of you. Now let's do another question. Please answer this question, all of you. A 36-year-old male from Bihar comes with complaints of hypopigmented macules over the trunk and face. The nerves and sensations are tested to be normal. There was no scaling in the lesion. Patient gave history of prolonged fever 2 years back for which he was treated. What is the drug of choice for treatment of this condition? So can anybody tell me what is the diagnosis here? What is the diagnosis here? Yes, this is a case of post-Kala-Azar dermal leishmaniasis. Very nice. And treatment of choice is oral miltefosine. Oral miltefosine is the treatment of choice which has to be given in this patient. Now, a little bit about leishmaniasis. Leishmaniasis, it is a protozoal infection which is transmitted by the bite of sandfly. Now here you have spectrum of disease. At one end you have a localized disease, and in another end you have a generalized or a disease which have involvement of the viscera. Now, localized disease is further classified into two groups. The one which is localized only to the skin, and another which is localized to skin plus mucosa. And in generalized, you have only one example, and that is Kala Azar, where you have involvement of reticuloendothelial system. Now, localized one, starting with first, that is the cutaneous involvement. The example is oriental sore or Delhi boil. This is because of old world leishmaniasis, and the organism here is Phlebotomus species. The cutaneous ulcer is also called as volcano ulcer, and here you will see presence of annular lesion with central crusting. Please give me a thumbs up if you all understood how will the localized disease present. The localized lesion is called as oriental sore, which will have crusting in the center and erythema of the periphery. It occurs because of old world leishmaniasis, and you have to remember this, that it is leishmaniasis major or leishmaniasis tropica or ethiopica, and the vector is Phlebotomus species. Now the next is the mucocutaneous type. So this is the Delhi boil or volcano ulcer or oriental sore. Now the second is skin and mucous membrane involvement. This is called as Chiclero ulcer. Chiclero ulcer or Spundia is the name given to the New World leishmaniasis, and this occurs because of Leishmaniasis mexicana or Leishmaniasis brasiliensis. The vector here is sandfly, which is called as Lutzomia. Okay, so somebody have asked me this question, that the vector of new world leishmaniasis is Lutzomia, and the vector for old world leishmaniasis is Phlebotomus. Okay. Now in Chiclero ulcer, you will develop ulcerative lesion mainly over the earlobe as well as over the nose, because you have involvement of the mucosa. And the involvement of the nose will give it a characteristic appearance which is called as tapir note or Spundia. So please remember these names. What were the names? The names were the Chiclero ulcer, Spundia, and tapir nose. Okay. While in skin lesion, you have Delhi boil, volcano ulcer, or oriental sore. I hope everybody is understanding this point. The last is the disseminated variant, which is called as visceral leishmaniasis. It is also called as Kala Azar. And here you have mainly the involvement of reticuloendothelial system. For example, you will have enlargement of spleen, liver. You will have presence of night sweating because of involvement of bone marrow. You will have recurrent infections, bleeding, as well as you will have associated constitutional symptoms of weight loss, weakness, cough, etc. So these are the features of visceral leishmaniasis. Now, what happens after leishmaniasis? Sometimes, maybe after 1 year or 2 year, patient develops a disease which is called as post-Kala Azar dermal leishmaniasis. Here you have two variants. One is called as early hypopigmented macule, and the later is called as late nodular lesions. The early hypopigmented macules will present with multiple hypopigmented lesions all over the body, and nodular lesions will present with multiple nodules all over the body. So in the question, they have given you that if you go back to the question, they have given you that patient has hypopigmented macule, rest everything is normal, and 2 year back he had a prolonged fever. So 2 year back he had Kala Azar, but now he had presented with the hypopigmentary type of post Kala Azar dermal leishmaniasis. And for this condition, you have to give either sodium stibogluconate, which is an intravenous or which is an injectable drug, parenteral drug, while oral miltefosine is an oral drug, and oral drug is considered to be the drug of choice. Understood this point? Okay, now let's do few questions, and this will give me an idea whether you all understood this or not. Please answer this question, all of you. Okay, so I can see 88% of you with the correct answer. So here the purpose of putting this question is to tell you that even the leishmaniasis have apple jelly appearance on dioscopy. So apple jelly nodule, can you tell me other than leishmaniasis, what is that condition which presents with apple jelly nodule? Yes, the answer is cutaneous TB, that is lupus vulgaris. So in both these conditions, you will see apple jelly nodule. And here you can see clearly there is central crusting and surrounding erythema. While in cutaneous tuberculosis, you have central atrophy and surrounding erythema. Okay. So correct answer is option number 4. Now, what is the answer of this question? Chiclero ulcer is an example of the New World leishmaniasis. And the vector of New World leishmaniasis is very nice. Happy Soul, SJ, Crystal, Proud Indian, Dr. BV. Very nice, all of you. Yes. So for the New World, the vector is Lutzomia, while for Old World, the vector is Phlebotomus. Okay. I think all of you understood this point. Very nice. The correct answer is option number 2. Now, volcano ulcer is seen in. This is an easy question because already discussed this. Volcano ulcer, I want 100% answer. We have discussed this. Volcano ulcer or Delhi boil is another name for which type of ulcers? Yes, the localized variety of leishmaniasis, which is called as oriental sore. Very nice, all of you. And I think we are done with leishmaniasis also. We will do one more question and then we will wind off the discussion of infectious disease. Now, for all of you, I just want to tell you that we have one more session today for infectious disease, and that is at 10 p.m., 10 to 11. So I request everybody to please be there also. Please join that batch also. And the last question of the today's this session: what is the causative organism for Taenia nigra? So Taenia nigra is because of Horte wernicke, Malassezia globosa, Fusarium, or Piedra. Very nice. Harita, Achla, Vandan, Proud Indian, Jyoti, Divya. The correct answer is Horte wernicke. Now, Taenia nigra, it is a different type of disease. It is not a dermatophytic infection. So, Taenia here is a misnomer. In these patients, the organism or the fungal species known as Horte wernicke, the patient presents with asymptomatic or mildly itchy hyperpigmented macule of the palm and sole. So this is the characteristic feature of Taenia nigra, and this can be confused by the syphilitic lesion of secondary syphilis, because in secondary syphilis also you can see hyperpigmented lesions of the palm and sole. So please remember that this is a question for don't worry, Dr. BV. Don't worry about the exams. Even if you are not able to answer these questions, don't think too much, because now if you get tensed, you will tend to forget what you have done. Okay, so don't have to worry about these questions. Try to do whatever you have read, and please focus on the tomorrow's paper. So I all the best to all of the students, those who are giving the exam tomorrow. And if you want to revise, we have one more session today at 10 p.m. You can join me there. I'm also having a YouTube session at 9 p.m. So you can join me over my YouTube session also. And the session is on the leprosy. So you can join the session at 9 p.m. from 9 to 9:30. So good night, all of you, and all the best for your exam. If you have any doubts related to this, you can ask me in your exam. Please look into the question image I posted. So how should I see the question images? Okay, okay. One second. I am not able to see the images, Mithum. I'm not able to see the images. I'm very sorry that the images are not opening in my question area. I'm very sorry about that. So good night, all of you, and all the best for your exam. So bye bye, and we'll meet again at 10 p.m.